It being 7 o'clock and the warrant having been duly served, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll wait just a couple minutes to let people get in the door. Looks like there's a few standing outside, so give me 5 and we'll start up. I didn't turn it off. Did it die? How about now? Hey, there we go. You know, he did that by the force, you know, he put that microphone on. Okay, if you could please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to take a minute tonight to remember Diane Nichols. She was our senior center director and another one of the good ones. I'm kind of at a loss for words. She was taken so quickly from us. But Diane was always there for the seniors and really was the shot in the arm the senior center needed. And I hope we can find someone that would be halfway what she brought to the senior center. And with that in mind, I'd like to dedicate tonight's meeting to Diane Nichols. If you would, Kara, make sure that's in the record. Let me read the first article, and then we'll bring Finance Committee up. Okay, Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $16,514 from free cash to the sick leave buyback account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion? Mr. Moderator?
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $16,514 from free cash to the sick leave buyback account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Wait a minute, you vote it. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? First up, Finance Committee. Okay. Do we have a mic there? Byron's coming up with a mic.
Thank you. Karen Hubeck, Kylie 12 Madbrook, Chair of the Finance Committee. So the duty of the Finance Committee is really to take into consideration the townspeople and as far as monies that need to be paid. We all understand that we're in unprecedented times with COVID. Our major concern for the town is not obviously this year because things were okay and appropriated well in advance, but is next fiscal year. Our recommendation to the town is to be as fiscally responsible as possible. I'm sure that everybody's probably doing that in their own households at this point, not knowing what next year is going to bring. The only 2 items that we would recommend be passed over. We had a meeting with the highway superintendent. He is willing and is able to probably make do until spring without a truck. And to pass over, we would like to get a little more information on a grant writer that would be beneficial to the whole town and get a little more information on that. But please feel free to ask as many questions as possible. We will try to answer along with the Board of Selectmen. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
Is there anything else to be said? Anything at all? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No, it's all right. I need to stretch. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $25,000 from free cash to the treasurer account, training account, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $25,000 from free cash to the treasurer accountant training account.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $3,025 from free cash to the accountant's salary account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $3,025 from free cash to the accountant's salary account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,314.31 to the interest school roof account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,314.31 to the interest school roof account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,275.32 to the interest police facility account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,275.32 to the interest police facility account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $812.50 to the interest fire truck account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $812.50 to the interest fire truck account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Sue. Is there anything to be said? It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said on the motion? Anything at all? Sue, you got anything to say? No, I'm good. Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,050.08 to the interest library account or take an action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,050.08 to the interest library account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to rescind the vote that, excuse me, let me start over. To see if the town will vote to rescind the vote on that portion of Article 4 on June 5th, 2020, annual town meeting that appropriated $65,000 for the school roof maturing debt or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to rescind the vote on that portion of Article 4 of the June 5th, 2020 annual town meeting that appropriated $65,000 for the school roof maturing debt.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said?
Just why? I'm guessing it wasn't that much. Just clarifying.
Is Ian here? Ian? Is this all to do with the refinancing?
Yes.
Yeah.
That originally was going to be a payment that we had to make, a principal payment, but we did the final borrowing last month, and it was all incorporated with school building funds, so we didn't need it.
Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, Ian is planning on retiring again, and I think it's for real this time, unfortunately for the town, because She has saved the town literally millions of dollars over her career here, refinancing and restructuring our loans and our debt. She stayed on a little longer than she had planned to stay on because she wanted to finish the refinancing of all the debt we currently have, which is going to save us, what, a couple of $100,000?
$588,000.
Yeah. So on behalf of the town and the board, we can't thank her enough. So.
Is there anything else to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I agree with the man, you're not going anywhere. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of $750 from free cash to pay a bill for actuary services or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $750 from free cash to accountant other expense account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of $5,574.52 from free cash to pay for a fire equipment repairs or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $5,574.52 from free cash to fire repairs account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Sue, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Sue, you got anything to say?
No.
Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. For those of you who don't know, Sue had a medical episode a while back, and the fire department brought her back from the brink. And
8 times.
yeah, and she is forever grateful. So we're all forever grateful you're here to second those.
I'm grateful to be here to second them.
That was 10, right? Yes. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer the amount of $1,000 from the fire assistant chief's salary to the fire deputy chief's salary or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the amount of $1,000 from fire assistant chief salary to fire deputy chief salary.
Is there a second? Sue again. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of $5,000 from free cash to pay the deductible for fire equipment insurance claim or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $5,000 from free cash to general insurance expense account.
Is there a second?
I second that one too.
Okay. Is there anything just to be said on the motion?
I got nothing.
Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we're getting into the zoning articles, and the state law requires that the zoning board give a report. Planning board, rather, not zoning board, planning board. Right, Mr. King over here, Byron.
Bill King, 42 Rufus Putnam Road, Chair of the Planning Board. And on September 30th, we had a public hearing. There were 17 members of the public present, in addition to our board members. And there are 7 articles here for changing the zoning, and 6 of them are all approved by everybody in attendance. We did take a vote on the one regarding drive-through operations, which we will be getting to, and the vote was, of the public, 15-2 against that one. So when we get to that article, if somebody wants more discussion, I'd be happy to provide it.
Okay. These are all going to require a 2/3 vote, so we'll be voting it backwards, and you all know how to do that, I believe. I'll be asking for a no vote first. Did you have a question? Byron, right up there.
Sorry, is it possible just to give a quick, explanation exactly? I mean, I realize there's a lot of these. Is it just, so for instance, cafes and restaurants less than 4,000 square feet? What exactly does that mean in the change?
You want to read the article first?
I can do that. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E4B, cafes, to read as follows: cafes and restaurants less than 4,000 square feet, or take any action relative thereto. Are you doing the motions, Bill? Are you doing the motions, or is the board doing the motions?
I think I did not plan on to do them.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E, 4B, cafes to read as follows: cafes and restaurants less than 4,000 square feet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and is there any discussion? Mr. King.
Okay, as presently constituted, our bylaw says that a permitted use is cafes only. And so we want to add restaurants, just to be more specific and more inclusive. And also further down in that same section, it talks about small-scale retail, which is less than 4,000 square feet. And then there's another section that talks about something being over 4,000 square feet on any floor. So we just want to be consistent here and add restaurants and cafes less than 4,000 square feet, which would qualify as a small-scale retail establishment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there anything else to be said on this motion? Any questions at all from Mr. King? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Well, excuse me, I messed up. I did it wrong. All those opposed to this article, please raise your hands. Okay. Now, all those that are in favor of this article, please raise your hands. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. I get ahead of myself sometimes. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E5D, restaurants to read as follows: restaurants and cafes more than 4,000 square feet, or taking action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E5D, restaurants, to read as follows: restaurants and cafes more than 4,000 square feet.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor, or excuse me, all those not in favor of this article, please raise your hand. All those in favor of the article, please raise your hand. Okay, great. Motion passes. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E6A, retail operations with more than 2,000 square feet of gross floor area on any individual floor, to read as follows: retail operations with more than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area on any individual floor, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E6A, retail operations with more than 2,000 square feet of gross floor area on any individual floor, to read as follows: retail operations with more than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area on any individual floor.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? Those not in favor of this article, please raise your hand. Those in favor of the article, please raise your hand. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to amend the town zone of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E6B, drive-through operations by moving this prohibited use from section 4E5E in order to be a permitted use by special permit from the planning board, section 5E. Would be a new subsection existing, subsection 4E6C. Adult entertainment would become 4E6B. By law would read as follows: 5E, drive-through operations, and 6B, adult entertainment, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion? Good luck with this one.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E6B, drive-through operations by moving this prohibited use to section 4E5E in order to be a permitted use by special permit from the planning board. Subsection 5E would be a new subsection. Existing subsection 4E6C, adult entertainment, would become 4E6B. Bylaw would read as follows: 5E, drive-through operations, and 6B, adult entertainment.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Oh, I was figuring that when we get it. In the back here first, Byron.
Sheila Orsi, 12 Ward Street, North Brookfield. I was at that planning board meeting. I'm the chair of the Downtown Development Committee in North Brookfield. It's a fairly new committee. We've been around for about 2 years, and although you haven't seen too much movement in the downtown area, we've been working really hard. We actually got a really great grant that can bring us in almost $500,000 worth of projects, which includes updating our sidewalks and stuff in our downtown area. And we're really working hard too with the Friends of the Townhouse to redevelop our downtown area. So we are working really hard, and we've got some great grants that are coming through. So with that, I would ask that you would oppose this particular bylaw change. The bylaw change actually, right now, as it stands, says that no drive-ups are allowed in the district overlay area of the Main Street portion of our town. It's the only bylaw that is actually written in all of our bylaws that specifically outlaws drive-ups from a zone. So we thought that it was important that at some point the planning board had put that into the bylaws and that it should remain the way that it is. So I would ask you all to please oppose the bylaw change and to just leave it as it is. There are many places in our master plan and also in the actual district overlay planning and purpose that calls for our district overlay to be a very pedestrian-friendly area, and we feel like changing this to allow, even by special permit, any kind of drive-through operation in our district overlay area would not be a good change. So other than that, there's loads of places for us to put drive-ups in North Brookfield, but our district overlay is really a central part of our town that we would really like to keep in a New England atmosphere and to keep it very pedestrian friendly. So again, I would ask that you oppose this and leave the bylaw as it is. Thank you.
Okay. So, Byron, down here in the front corner.
Oh, I don't need a microphone, I don't think. Can everyone hear me? No. I'm sorry, Byron. I just think it's important that...
Can you let people know who you are?
I'm Tashina Holmes from Union Street. I just wanted to know what the definition of the drive-through is, and the definition of adult entertainment. Do we have definitions for those? And do we know particularly what area this is talking about?
Mr. King?
I am researching the bylaw.
Okay.
adult entertainment is not defined. And what was your other one?
Drive up.
Drive up? That's not going to be defined either.
And the third part was where does this particular overlay encompass? Was that correct? Am I paraphrasing correctly?
I don't have the zoning map with me tonight, but it definitely goes from Pleasant Street through all of, following down to the town center, and then as far south, probably at least to where King and Gilbert, where that fork is. It might even go as far as Ward.
It doesn't go as far as Ward.
It doesn't go as far as Ward?
On my phone if anybody wants to see it.
Okay.
Okay, Byron, one.
Yeah, I just want to
Letter.
ask questions. So with knowing that, I personally would also say we should vote no on this, because without specific information on what this means for our town, we can't make an accurate decision on whether or not this would actually benefit the zoning area. I think that we need to include definitions on what it means, and maybe even narrow down the actual area to not include where the townhouse is in that area.
Okay. Byron, back in the back corner.
Darren Anderson, 8 Started Place. How does this affect the bank drive-through that's been down right there and been going and operating for years? Are they going to have to shut down the bank drive-through now if we don't approve this?
Mr. King?
I did happen to mention that at the hearing on September 30. Apparently, when the building permit was issued for that, I think maybe the building inspector looked at that as maybe a reuse of the property from Summer Street coming out to South Main Street or Gilbert Street, excuse me. And so the drive-throughs were automatically approved when they put in that branch, because they used to have them at the main office on Summer Street. And so maybe an error was made by the inspector. Maybe it's...
Could it be that the entrances for that drive-through come off of Hannaford's parking lot and exit on Hannaford's parking lot?
There's nothing that correlates to that in the bylaw. It simply is a prohibited use in our town at this point in time.
Yep.
So if we're looking forward to having any other businesses come to town that do benefit from drive-through, I think we're just limiting ourselves to business opportunity. And
Okay.
so I think it's a positive thing. I also don't see how this correlates at all to pedestrian friendliness. You can have drive-throughs, and people can walk in and they can walk out of a convenience store, and they can also drive through in a car. And we are a modal society, so I don't see, not everybody's going to walk to every business in town.
Byron, right down here.
Can the police department let us know of any incidents regarding a drive-through, that they've had any accidents in town that they're aware of?
I don't know. Chief, is that something you can do? Is he still here? No. No? Chief Smith? I think he's out in the hallway. He's gone? Okay. So we can't answer that question for you tonight.
Okay.
So, is there anything else to be said? Mr. King?
I would just offer one other item regarding this proposal, and that is right now it's prohibited in the downtown overlay district. What we're proposing is that it becomes a special permit opportunity through the planning board, and it therefore would come down to being reviewed site by site, project by project. And I think if there was overwhelming opposition by the public to have a drive-through operation, I think the planning board would highly consider that in their decision-making. So I really think instead of having an absolute prohibition of this, I think we should make it as proposed.
Okay. Byron, right down, right there first, right there.
I guess I have a couple questions to start with. Does the planning board and the town selectmen know that there are 2 committees working in town to create a whole community of artisan shops, restaurants, a walkable downtown that will draw in tourists. Are you folks, the planning committee and the town selectmen, aware that that's been in the works?
The selectmen are aware because we appointed them and they report to us, so we are aware of the goings-on from the downtown development. I'm sure the planning board's aware because one of the selectmen is on the planning board, so.
Okay. And then I'm kind of new to this whole town meeting stuff, I'm embarrassed to say. But it feels to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're talking about a specific thing, but we're dancing around it. It seems to me like we're talking about putting in some sort of convenience store, gas station right smack dab in the middle of our Main Street area, but nobody's really saying that out loud. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, I think this is apples and oranges. That's an issue in itself, the gas station. And
okay.
This is about the zoning of a
right, but aren't
specific item, to
right.
allow a drive-through kind of thing. So,
but aren't we really trying to change the zoning so that that can be slipped in and one committee can make that decision without us? Do I have that wrong?
Mr. King, can you clarify that? I'm out of my wheelhouse.
Well, we do have such a proposal before us for a convenience store gas station. I would say this article is totally unrelated to that project.
Oh,
it's not project-specific at all.
Wow. Okay.
And we don't have a formal proposal of that. It was just a preliminary proposal at our last meeting a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And at this point, there's been no drive-through proposed for that project. And
There hasn't been.
There has not been. That is correct.
Wow, okay.
What we understand is that the site is too small to accommodate it, and so there is not a drive-through proposed for that.
Okay, great. Good. Because something like that going in right there negates the work of so many people that have been doing for years and tens of thousands of dollars of grants that have come in for the planning on all that. So it was just confusing me. But that has not been approved.
No, in fact, the formal submittal of an application, they will have to go through a special permit process, a site plan review process, which will go simultaneously together. And that's maybe going to come up in January 2021, if not later. I don't think it'll come up sooner than that.
Because it would just be so great to keep that historic area downtown, something that can attract tourists. I think as a town, and this is just to throw into the mix on this bylaw discussion, we need to, yes, think about what we as a town want to have for ourselves to make our lives better. But we've also got to think about what's going to attract people to buying houses here, putting their kids in school here, what's going to bring people in to spend money in town. And I don't think that, and I'm just going to be really frank, I don't think a convenience store gas station smack dab in the middle of Main Street is going to make people want to move to North Brookfield.
Okay.
And that's, we have to think longer term.
I need to cut you off on there
want.
because you're not germane to the motion.
Yeah, it actually is.
Well, it isn't because we're talking about drive-through allowances, not the actual placement of a gas station. So
right.
I need to cut you off there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We had some other hands back here. Byron, for the sake of logistics, right behind you.
Trish Miller, 15 Rufus Putnam Road. So I just wanted to go back to what you guys were talking about, just for my clarity. So if there was a special permit, would that decision be made by the planning board, or would it come to a town meeting?
Planning board.
So that's, I guess we're, okay.
All right, right over here now.
Back to another meeting.
Hi, I'm Ethan Malad, 17 Ashley Road. So I just want to, I'm also a member of the Downtown Development Committee. I want to thank Sheila for saying what she said earlier. I would also recommend opposition on this motion. I think regardless of what type of business may or may not go in, within the downtown overlay district, this bylaw was enacted in order to maintain a certain feel, in order to maintain the option for people to be able to walk up and down the street. We have a one, maybe a 2-block long Main Street. That's our entire downtown. If a significant portion of that is taken up with traffic going in and out of one or more businesses, that drastically changes the character, changes the way our downtown is used. And I think that not only moving to special permit, I understand that moving to special permit would still require an approval by the planning board, but planning boards change. And while one planning board might, sway one direction, 10 years down the road, that planning board would think a different thing. And I think that's the reason why this bylaw was enacted, to maintain a sort of specific character. And actually, I just have it here just in case people haven't read the bylaw. It's just a short little sentence here. The purpose of this regulation is to ensure historic development patterns in the existing town center, to create an attractive and walkable neighborhood, encourage adaptive reuse of abandoned, vacant, or underutilized buildings, allow for a mix of new land uses that are appropriate both to the needs of the community and the scale of the surrounding neighborhoods. And I think that in general, businesses that would utilize a drive-through operation, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a Dunkin' Donuts, whether, in my opinion, a gas station is a drive-through, inherently a drive-through operation, I think that all of those types of businesses would would not be helpful to, as Bonnie was saying, bringing people to town, creating a neighborhood and a town that is interesting for other people to come to.
Okay, right beside you.
Okay. Karen McGrail from 9 Hillside. I was wondering, is it possible to make an amendment to that zoning bylaw? People are opposed to having it very much downtown. Could you say it's going to be from, Maple Street up and from, Spring Street down, and then they have their area?
I think
if we're voting on a 2/3, we're here now.
I think we get into the area of spot zoning. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. King. With amendments like that denotes block areas around, doesn't that get into the issue of spot zoning?
If you have more than one property owner, it's my understanding that you can eliminate that problem. So as long as you have multiple property owners involved in a district area, you are not spot zoning.
Okay, so the way it's laid out now, it's not spot zoning, but if what Ms. McGrail...
Well, she's saying from Maple Street to Pleasant Street, that's several property owners.
Okay, all right, so
it would be
if it was to break it in, but if it was several areas of that, would that still constitute...
Well, it might be a little hard to describe, but if you could describe it, I think it would be okay.
If you want to amend that, it would have to be in writing. We have a paper here.
But if one looks at land use in the center of town, there's no open lots that are big enough to accommodate a drive-through. So you're looking at 2 blocks of Main Street, north and south of the 4 corners, you don't have any properties large enough to accommodate a drive-through.
Right.
So you might have the McGrail property at Pleasant and North Main, and you might have a couple down on Gilbert, but it's not a very wide number that's going to be impacted with a drive-through.
Right. Just a minute. She made one more comment, too. Is there any way to give possible more clarification on the adult entertainment portion of this?
Well, the only reason that was mentioned is that in our bylaw in the downtown overlay district, this section 6, there's 3 subsections to it that are under prohibited uses. So retail operations, we did amend that tonight. So we're proposing to make that to have no more than 4,000 square feet on a single floor. And then the second one, or letter B of that, was drive-through operations, so that was prohibited. And then C was adult entertainment, and that's prohibited. So if we were going to amend it as our planning board is proposing, drive-through operations would then go up to 5, and adult entertainment would become B instead of C.
Which means it's permitted, not
So it
permitted?
means it continues to be prohibited.
Okay.
And retail operations larger than 4,000 square feet are prohibited.
Okay. Chet, did you still have a, Byron, right down here, Chet?
Mr. Moderator, the words in the article and the words by our planning board chief don't match. I move that we table this article until we can define what a drive-through is, define what a adult entertainment is, and do it right the first time.
So you're putting that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to table this till a later date. We're going to have to establish a date, Chet.
The next meeting.
Well, you haven't presented that yet, so. But you may not need to.
Next annual town meeting?
At the next town meeting.
Yeah. May.
Whatever.
Mr. Attorney.
Yeah, just tabling. I don't think you need a date on that.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, because she had not made the amendment yet. Okay, so is there a second for that?
I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to table this until a later date based on further information. You're going to have to write that motion down, Chet, so we have...
Not the table.
Huh?
The table, I need...
Well, I need to know the specifics of the tabling. Table it for a reason. You just... Well, it doesn't matter. I guess we don't have to have a reason.
Yeah, for more information, that's it.
But she hadn't made the motion yet. She hadn't moved to amend, and it hadn't been seconded, so it's not on the floor yet.
But she's in the line ahead of...
No.
Motion to table has been made.
Yeah, we've got a motion to table on, I'm sorry. We have a motion to table on the floor. You hadn't made your proposal yet, and you hadn't seconded it, so it essentially, right now, this may make your amendment moot at this point, so.
Yeah, hold on, don't go anywhere.
All those in favor of tabling this issue till...
Can we make comment before the...
Yeah, if you want to discuss that now, yeah, we can discuss whether or not to table it. Do you want to say something?
I'd like to speak to Chet's remarks.
Okay, that's fine, then say something.
Because I don't, he's not
Speak
clear.
up.
He's calling that we're speaking about something different than what's put it in the article, and I totally disagree with him on that. We're not discussing
Okay,
adult...
Chet, let him speak and address your comments.
We're
through
not
me, please.
discussing adult entertainment whatsoever, so that shouldn't be any part of this discussion. We're just changing a letter in the bylaws. It has no material impact on what we're talking about here at all.
Right, and that I got clarification from that, and you had clarified that it was just a matter of change in the description, but it doesn't change the actual bylaw itself.
Right.
Okay, is there anything else to be said? Or do you have more to say, Mr. King?
Well, I say there's no reason to table this.
Okay.
I wish he'd rescind his motion.
Is there anything else to be said?
Can we vote it down?
Yes, you can vote it down. Right behind you, Byron.
I don't know if I can still add some discussion to the original motion, but now I have a question. If you were to amend the bylaws and allow this to be a decision by the planning board and not involve the town in a future decision, once you have allowed a business with a drive-through operation to be allowed in, let's say, the downtown area that we're speaking of, if that person was to sell their property and to a McDonald's or another drive-through type of operation, would they be grandfathered in so that we no longer have control over what's going to be put in that place?
I don't understand the question.
If a business was granted a drive-through and that business sold to another individual and that individual changed the nature of the business to, say, a McDonald's, is it grandfathered forward?
Don't know how to answer that question. If you have a drive-through operation that's approved by special permit by the planning board, I think it goes to the owner and the property. but if it changes, I think we'd have to get another special permit.
Okay.
There's no bylaw on that though, right though?
Excuse me?
There's no bylaw on that though.
Correct.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Brown?
Well, yeah, my concern is that once you've enabled a drive-through operation to be in place, I think we've lost an opportunity to control what's going to be in that area. That area could be another drive-through operation, and we have no control really over that, unless there's a way you say that every time that's going to be sold, it has to go through a special permit. But I can see myself, I can. If I'm envisioning a downtown that's going to be creating toward the arts and stuff then to have a Dunkin' Donuts or a McDonald's right in the middle of that doesn't appeal to me, at least.
Okay, back to the motion to table. Let Mr. Bullock or Charlie Haddock first, and then we'll get to you.
I think all this discussion is moot, because all you're doing is moving one paragraph from one point in the motion to another.
No.
You're not changing the meaning. It still has to go through the board, which is the common way that it goes anyway, and this type of thing goes. So I don't see the danger in it at all. You still have public hearings. You still have the board, the integrity of the board to do the right thing.
Is this true, Mr. King? Is it to change any regulation? Well, it does change it. If you move this, and you're now allowing us
right now,
an opportunity for a drive-through that is not there now. So yes, it does change it.
It does change it.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
For those of you that haven't heard about a gas station coming to town, there was a private purchase in the center of town for the old Langevin property that was bought by the Bagdis people.
Is this germane to
what they think
to the
is
table? No, but is it germane to the tabling of this article or this motion?
Yes, because we want to keep it going. We want to keep the article not tabled, like Mr. King said.
Okay, go ahead.
The people in this audience here assume that there's going to be a gas station with a drive-through in the center of town. Mr. Algu came to our planning board meeting 2 weeks ago, and in his proposal, there was no drive-through around the gas station. That whole thing and the myth about putting a drive-through in the center of town, he came with his proposal, and whoever was at the planning board meeting saw it, and there is no drive-through in the center of town. Mr. Algu bought the property, and he assured us there would be no drive-through there. I don't understand why we can't allow a drive-through in some other part of town, that we could bring business to town with a drive-through. Say another bank wants to come to town and have a drive-through. They're not going to come here without a drive-through. Say we get a Dunkin' Donuts. There are other properties outside of downtown. There's no space downtown for a drive-through, but there are spaces on Grove Street, possibly on School Street, other parcels. If you can get a couple of property owners to sell their properties together, you could put a restaurant with a drive-through. There's not going to be one downtown. The gas station is probably going to come in. He wants to spend over $4 million in the center of our town. He's assured us that it's going to fit within the looks of the downtown. He told us he would put nice facades on there, privacy fences, arborvitaes, and bushes. There's no reason not to allow a drive-through in town somewhere.
Go ahead.
I would, one of the reasons why I really feel like we should table this is, if you think about it, 14 versus 2 people voted this down to come to the meeting, and the board still brought it to the meeting. So the chances of them actually listening to our public opinion are not very high, in my personal opinion, right now. And also, without further defining drive-through operation, which there is some controversy over, and adult entertainment, we can't make an educated choice on it, and it doesn't help our town to have a drive-through in it. I think that money for the town is extremely important. Yes, money for education and for the aesthetics of our town are important, but what's more important is how our town is. What do we want our kids growing up in? What kind of town do you want your kids growing up in? I don't care if we have a Dunkin' Donuts in town.
We need to get it back to the whether or not we're going to table this. All right, we're getting off in the weeds again.
No.
Is yours in regards to whether or not we should table it?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'll get right to you.
I would suggest that we not table this. I'm also in agreement that we move forward with hopefully opposing this. By all means, the Downtown Development Committee is very highly aware that we want business in town. We don't want to make zoning bylaws that are going to make businesses not want to be in town. What we want to do is preserve our downtown district overlay zone, which is a very, very small part of our very center of our town by our townhouse. And there are a lot of plans right now to bring cafes, restaurants, schooling. We just finished up with a master plan, and although I'm not allowed to talk specifically about questions, we do get a lot of information there. So I would suggest this not be tabled. We move forward and we vote this down. They can bring that again forward at another time. Am I allowed to talk about Karen's yet or no?
No, we're talking about whether or not to table it. Karen, does yours have to do with tabling? The question you had. Okay, do you have, Byron, come on down.
Thank you. I just recommend that we don't table it right now till at least we hear my article that I would like to present.
Well, we can't do one before the other, unfortunately. We have to table or move on.
Mr. Moderator, I move the question.
It's been... Is there a second to move to question?
No.
It's been moved and seconded to move to question. All in favor? 1, 2. Get them up and hold them up so I can see how many we got. We are voting now whether or not to move to question, which means to move the vote on the whether or not to table the article. Okay, so I see a majority here. So all those in favor of moving to table this motion, raise your hands.
Which motion?
No.
The motion that originally on the floor that we were going to table. It's do you want to table it or not? And if those that want to table it, please raise your hand.
No, he's not.
What am I not doing?
If you're moving,
He moved a question,
yeah, so he's moving.
which we voted already, and it was there. So I moved on to the tabling part of it. So now we're at this is to vote to table or not table, to table the motion. Those that are in favor of tabling this motion on the floor at this present time, please raise your hands. Those that are not in favor of tabling this article at this motion right now. Okay, I'm not going to table it, Chet. Okay, now, you want to read your amendment?
So I'd like to amend the zoning change, Article 6, to read drive-through operations would be allowed in, I don't know if it's called district overlay or business overlay, north of Maple Street and south of Spring Street, but still prohibit adult entertainment. And this would allow new businesses like Dunkin' Donuts, other gas stations, McDonald's. But if they don't like it, they don't like it.
Okay, is there a second?
And then it preserves the townhouse.
Okay, is there a second to her motion? Okay, we got a second.
Thank you. Sorry.
Did everyone hear the motion or the amendment? No. Amend Article 6, 5E zoning change to read. Drive-through operations would be allowed in district overlay north of Maple Street and south of Spring Street, but still prohibit 6C adult entertainment. This would allow new business, Dunkin' Donuts, gas stations, et cetera, McDonald's. Is that part of the motion, Karen, or is that just to clarify? Okay, all right, so I'm going to scratch that part. Everybody heard that portion of it? Okay, is there any discussion on the amendment? Right back there.
So I understand why Karen's doing this motion, and I think it's a great idea. I would like to oppose it just for this evening, though, Karen, because I think that what you are looking to have done is bigger, and it's a really good idea, and we should maybe rezone that part out of the district overlay, and then that way the district overlay could still have the same bylaws, but there's no bylaw on any other zone that we have in our town that restricts a drive up. So if we rezoned that district overlay to pull it down a little bit, I think that would be a good idea, but I don't think that that works with this particular change in our bylaw right now, if that makes sense to you. So I would ask that we oppose that, but that we look at that to reframe that zone, because I think that's a great idea.
Is there anything else to be said? Mr. King. Sorry to run you so much, Byron.
What Sheila just said was taking that particular property out of downtown overlay, and that would make it go to its existing district, which is R11, which does not permit business use. So we need to maintain the downtown overlay district all the way to Pleasant Street if they're ever going to have a business on that property. The other thing is that article needs to have proper vocabulary, and it's the downtown overlay district is what she's talking about. That was not the phrase she used in that article.
Be allowed a district overlay is what she said.
It is downtown overlay.
Right, okay.
And adult entertainment shouldn't be any part of it. I don't know how that got in there.
Okay, we're going to have to go with amendment as written unless she wants to change her amendment.
It needs to be properly worded. It's not useful as it is.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Mr. King, will you please?
I will.
Get with her and work this amendment out at the moment so we can move forward here. We have a lot of business besides this tonight.
You're an angel, thank you.
Okay, they've edited this amendment. I'm going to read the amendment, and I'm going to ask for another second on it just to make sure we're all on the same page for this. It says to amend Article 16, the grandfather area that applies. Yes, excuse me. The geographic area that applies for the drive-through operators in the downtown overlay district would be north of Maple Street and south of Spring Street. Is there a second to this amendment? Okay, Mr. King has seconded it. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Mr. Avery first.
Kind of agree with the whole premise that this whole idea should be revisited, but I think it should be revisited through the planning board process and public hearings, and also, so you can have an opportunity to have people who actually live in that district have input into it. I think this is kind of, last minute, and I think we kind of should just kind of put this whole process back into, say, reset and start over again through the planning board process.
Is there anything else to be said?
Sheila Orsi, 12 Ward Street. I would agree. I do think that what Karen's proposing is a good idea, but I think that it needs to go, we need to bring it into front of the planning board to rezone that area. To pull out one piece specifically in our bylaws, I don't think that that's a good idea, to just pull out one piece. And again, I agree with Brandon, doing that without having a public hearing so that the abutters and stuff around there can understand what's happening in their area is not a good idea. So I would recommend that we not pass this now, but we definitely talk about this.
Okay, Brandon, over here. Or not Brandon, Byron, sorry.
So then really, we're back to the original motion.
We're on amendment.
But what I'm saying is, what everybody is saying is let it go to the planning board, let it go for a special permit.
No.
But the previous one was, I mean, the original motion, if we go back to that, isn't that what it was? That it's allowable with a special permit from the planning board.
That's correct.
That's the point. So if somebody says, hey, I want to put in a drive-through, then they have to jump through those hoops. That's when they go in front of the planning board, they apply for a special permit, you have all these town hearings about it, the abutters get to have a direct voice in whether it comes or not. That was the original motion. That's what was written originally. So I don't understand what we're doing. We just went and did a full 180, in my opinion.
The amendment basically takes the center of town out of that equation and only allows the special permit to be north of Maple and south of Spring Street. Is that correct? Okay. So, which is already in the business overlay.
To let it go back to the planning board. But that's what this was saying originally in the original motion.
The original motion encompassed the entire downtown overlay.
But they still have to go in front of the planning board for a special permit, which then allows all the direct abutters to go and have a voice. And if obviously there's an issue, that's the whole point of having a public hearing with the planning board. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Is there anything else to be said? Back up there, Byron. I'm sorry. Byron's getting his steps in tonight.
Yeah, so Karen McGrail again. And basically, I was just trying to still keep this article, but preserve the downtown. So and whether you realize, when you make a zoning change, you have to have a town meeting like this. It has to be a 2/3 vote. So by delaying it, you're delaying, progress for any new businesses to come into town. So that's the only reason why I was trying to appease both of you and make it work tonight. But if people have the right to do whatever.
Okay, is there anything else to be said on the amendment?
Jim, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Bill, are there any pending requests for a drive-through anywhere in town?
No.
So, not sure what's to be gained here, but if you're thinking that a gas station is actually a drive-through, you're misconceiving it, because a gas station is a use as of right, and you can't try to redefine it out of the zone. So if that's your intent, to say, well, we can't put a gas station downtown because a gas station's a drive-through, that logic will not work legally, my opinion.
Okay, anything else to be said on the amendment? All those in favor of this amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed to this amendment, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion does not carry for the amendment. Now we're back to the original article. The motion is, I move that the town vote to amend the town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E 6B, drive-through operations, by moving this prohibited use to section 4E 5E in order to be a permitted use by special permit from the planning board. Subsection 5E would be a new subsection. Existing subsection 4E 6C, adult entertainment, would become 4E 6B. Bylaw would read as follows: 5E, drive-through operations, and 6B, adult entertainment. Is there anything left to be said on the motion? Back here, Brian.
So I just want to say, just as a sort of final thought, A couple people had mentioned, there's no room right now for a drive-through. I'm not talking about a gas station, whether or not a gas station is or not. There's no room now. What if the insurance building has a fire? Now you've got two lots next to each other, someone buys them both. I think this is an issue of thinking of what might happen in the future and thinking of why this bylaw was put in place in the first place and sort of reconciling the two. And I think that it's there for a reason, and it's an issue that could very well rear its head in the future if it gets changed.
First Brandon, and then I believe that's Chief Holloway.
I would just like to request a ballot vote on this article.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded for a ballot vote. All those in favor? Okay. Will the tellers please come forward? Oh, wait a minute, not yet. Good, talk to Mr. Holloway first. We're not to a point of voting yet. We still have discussion.
Yes, Joe Holloway, North Brookfield, Hillsville Road. I just want to ask Bill, in all the years I've been here, we definitely need a lot of new businesses, trust me. If you've been here long enough, we've had struggles with it. And this planning board is very conscientious, and they've always been conservative and was trying to do the right things in town. My question to Bill is, what was said by earlier by somebody, if the authority goes to your agency, then will it still have to go through those processes of public hearings and all those things?
The special permit process requires a formal application, a filing fee, plans, and then a public hearing is advertised. It all gets reviewed. And as I said, I took issue, if I may, this lady down front said that she didn't have faith in our planning board because it was at the public hearing where 15 people voted not in favor of this particular article. I would say that there's more than 17 voters in this town, and that the reason we brought it to town meeting is so that we could have a whole town be aware of this issue.
Okay. Let's go to the middle row here, right there.
Hannah Lavin, 10 Slab City Road. So you've mentioned a special permit a few times. How often is that renewed?
Once a property gets a permit, it's good as long as they're operating.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Orsi.
Sorry. I just wanted to mention that God, now I'm losing my train of thought, to be honest with you. Bill had mentioned about having a special permit for this particular area to be able to get a drive up in this zone. There's no other zone that has any drive up prohibition. So any other zone could actually get a special permit, or doesn't need a special permit actually.
Not permitted, it's deemed not to be permitted.
Well, it's deemed not permitted only in the district overlay, from what I understand. There's no other zone that actually specifically calls it out. So my point is that, for example, in R11, which is the residential 11, which is where the post office is, the car wash is, all of that is actually zoned residential, and all of those businesses have been put through by a special permit. So there's no reason why any other zone couldn't get a special permit for anything. I would just please suggest that we keep this at a no vote and that we leave it how it is and leave no drive up in just this small little piece of our town. It's so tiny, and the rest of the town all has an area to get a drive up. And by no means are we stopping a gas station. We are very excited to have businesses in town. And this has nothing to do with this. It only has to do with the drive up in that area. And I also move that we vote on this.
So you're moving to question?
Moving the question.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of moving to question? Opposed? All right, let's vote. I need the tellers down here, please, Sue and Brandon. We're going to do it the same way we did last time, row by row, so kind of do it like you're going to communion. And start with row one here, and we'll work our way back, and then just come around this way, and let's all go one direction, please. So, tellers, if you would like gloves, there are gloves and hand sanitizer here, too. So, there's gloves and hand sanitizer if you want.
So wait a minute.
What?
A yes vote is what?
Yes vote is in approval of the...
Approval of the article.
Jim, could you back there about where the vote goes?
Yeah. Where's this card?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, didn't have a trash bag. Yes vote goes in the wooden box. Your discard goes in the yellow bag on the floor. Yes vote is in favor of the motion.
Clarify that, please.
Clarify what?
What, a yes vote, is that against or?
No, a yes vote is in favor of the motion.
Which motion?
In favor.
The original motion?
Yes.
The original motion.
We are voting on the original motion. There are no amendments on the floor. It's the original motion. A yes vote is in favor of the motion. Vote goes in the wooden box. Discard goes in the yellow bag. Please.
At this point, it doesn't really matter either way.
No.
Not for the gas station.
No, that'll be the next one. Well, it is, but we're going to have those that come, lay on the floor and kick the walls.
Yeah, there's got to be a procedural move that they can make somewhere, right?
That's right.
Kick it back to the house.
Yeah. There wasn't always a house there. You know, there wasn't always a red auction around there. There was a house where that used to be. You know? He's a short guy. What the hell? It's going to look. He's a great guy. It's going to look a lot better than that. Good one in the box, bad one in the bag. I see it down there.
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, yeah. Next Wednesday. Yeah. Go hide behind the curtain.
That's okay, I brought rubber bands. Did you have supper yet?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you were smart. Starving. This place is going to be closed all the time. I'll get out of here. Smart you are. Exactly. I keep waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I'm doing something here. I would have gotten them.
I didn't hear what you said.
Thank you.
The vote is evenly split at 29-28. It does not have 2/3. It does not pass.
Thank you.
Okay, that was 16. Goodbye. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to amend. What?
Got it.
Article 17, to see if the town will vote to amend the town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, section 4E 8C 2A, off-site parking shall be within 200 feet of the property for which is being requested. To read as follows: off-site parking shall be within 750 feet of the property for which it is being requested, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaw, Section 4E 8C 2A. Off-site parking shall be within 200 feet of the property for which it is being requested, to read as follows: off-street parking shall be within 750 feet of the property for which it is being requested.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Any discussion at all? Those that are not in favor of this article, please raise your hand. All those in favor of the article, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to amend the town of North Brookfield zoning map. The property located at 59 Summer Street, owned by Henry J. LaMountain and Peter LaMountain, doing business as Mechanic Street Associates, and identified on tax map 106, block 39, lot 59, involving .49 acres, is presently in industrial district. Proposed to change the identified property to R11 district, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning map as follows: change property at 59 Summer Street to the R11 district.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. King.
This is a spot zone of what you were talking about earlier.
Uh-huh.
This is an existing one in town, and we propose to eliminate it. And this property is also in the downtown overlay district. So we're changing it from industrial to R11, but it also has business potential because it's in the downtown overlay district.
Okay. Is there anything else to be said? Anything at all? All those that are not in favor of this bylaw change, raise your hand. All those that are in favor of the bylaw change, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, Section 4 use regulations proposed to add Table 2 reference table of uses by district, which is 2 1/2 pages in length. First paragraph, see attached, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
I think you missed an article.
I did? I was 8.
Yeah, there's 2 Article 18s, I think.
No, wait. It's fine.
Do I have it wrong?
I did the 2 Article 18 motions.
We're good.
Very good. Okay.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Town of North Brookfield zoning bylaws, Section 4, use regulations, and propose to add Table 2 reference table of uses by district, which is 2 1/2 pages in length, after first paragraph.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Yep. Sheila.
Sheila Orsi, 12 Ward Street. I want to say I was at the planning board meeting when they showed us this table, and I just want to commend the planning board for creating this table. It is really a great asset to the planning bylaws, and I just want to say thank you to them.
Okay. Anything else to be said? All those who are not in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Article 20, the rest of these are going to be straight votes. Yes. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to rescind a portion of a vote taken on Article 4 of August 18th, 2020 special town meeting as follows, and further move that the town vote to transfer the amounts of as follows. Rescind $26,197 from the reserve for the junior senior high school. Rescind $1,347 from the library maturing debt. Rescind $7,142.80 from the fire truck, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to rescind a portion of the vote taken on Article 4 of the August 18th, 2020 special town meeting as follows. Rescind $26,197 from the reserve for the junior senior high school. Rescind $1,347 from the library maturing debt, and rescind $7,142.80 from the fire truck.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Or second, rather. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify, is there any discussion on this? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the sewer retained earnings to the sewer interest account, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $8,915.42 from sewer retained earnings to sewer interest account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the sewer retained earnings to the sewer facilities facilities planning capital account, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town take no action on this article.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $15,000 from the sewer administrative assistant to the sewer clerk account, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $15,000 from sewer administrative assistant to sewer clerk.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the free cash to the tree warden's expense account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $20,000 from free cash to tree maintenance account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion at all? All in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purchase of a pickup truck with plow for the highway department or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town take no action on this article.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Just why, I guess, why is it not being pushed forward?
Why you're... Oh, finance, okay, go ahead.
We had a meeting, Finance Committee meeting. Jason came in front of us last night, and it's not a life and death thing. And with our concerns with the volume of money for that, if he can hold off, once we get into spring and we see, obviously, the financial situation the town is in, we can always get it then.
Okay, anything else to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purchase of a wood chipper or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $25,000 from free cash to the wood chipper expense account.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion at all?
I guess I just asked for clarification on that, why that's more important than the
Just a second. The question was, why is that more important than a plow truck?
Well, first of all, we don't have a chipper, and Jason is now our tree warden. So if we have an emergency, I think people can look around. The trees are in huge disrepair. That's why we're putting more money into the tree warden's account. So if a chipper's needed, it would need to be rented. It would be better to give Jason some money so he could probably find a good, reasonable chipper for a decent amount, so that we have it in a state of emergency.
Okay. Anything else to be said? Anything? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jason, when you're using that chipper, keep your wife at home. Article 27, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for a grant writer or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town take no action on this article.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved to second. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry? Okay. Anything else to be said? Right there, Byron.
Ethan Malad, 17 Ashley Road. I just wanted to say I think a grant writer would be fantastic for the town, whether it's specific departments or town-wide. And I guess I would ask why this was tabled and whether there was any specific budget planned.
Okay, back down to finance.
And we concur that it definitely would be something to look into to hire a grant writer. However, we don't have enough information to put money and hold it somewhere in order to do that. So, and then again, we thought with everything else that's going on with COVID, that it'd be better to probably table that till spring.
Okay. Anything else to be said?
Let me just add to that. So we have money that's available in free cash, or we could get a grant writer, but it would only be for a short period of time, and then we would have to carry it forward in the general budget, and we don't have the money in the general budget for it. So it's one of those things that if you hire for it, you have to plan long-term to sustain it, and that we can't do under the current budget, especially with the COVID on the rise and not knowing where we're going to be fiscally next year with the money from the state and money that we're going to get in revenue. So we didn't think it was prudent at this time. We also just got the proposal at the last minute when we were putting the warrant together, and we don't have specifics. So we don't know how much it's going to cost us and how much they are, generally what options are available. So we just don't have enough information right now.
Thank you. Anything else to be said? All those in favor, raise your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of $26,755.21 from free cash to the police cruiser lease account, or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $26,755.21 from free cash to the police cruiser lease expense account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved to second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion at all? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $717.67 from free cash into facility expense account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $717.67 from free cash into the police facility expense account.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $3,495.56 from the reserve for the library premium to the debt refinancing expense or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $3,495.56 from the reserve for library premium to the debt refinancing expense.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $21,431.42 from the reserve for the fire truck grant to the debt refinancing expense or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $21,431.42 from the reserve for fire truck grant to debt refinancing expense.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $69,218.29 from the reserve for the HS loan payment to the debt refinancing expense or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $69,218.29 from the reserve for the high school loan payment, debt refinancing expense.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Right across the street there, Byron.
On Ashley Road. I'm just wondering what that's all about.
We're done. Oh, Ann.
That's money from when we first borrowed for the high school. It was a premium that we had to amortize for the life of the loan. And when we just refinanced, we could take what was left of that and just reduce the amount of the new bond. That's what HS is for the high school. That's the original high school construction. Yes.
Anything else to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $23,125.56 from the school window fund balance to the debt refinancing expense or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $23,125.56 from the school window fund balance to the debt refinancing expense.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of money from free cash to the stabilization account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $51,000 from free cash to the stabilization account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything to be said on this motion? Yep.
Just so everybody is aware, the stabilization account currently has $949,741 in it, and that's because we've been putting money in there for the last 4 or 5 years. Best practices for the state to the town advises us that we should have $1 million minimum in stabilization. This transfer will put us over the best practices. And the fact that we have money to the extent that we do in stabilization and some other fiscal moves that we've made over the last 4 years is why we got such a great interest rate on the loans that Ian just consolidated for us. So we have a, what is it, a AA minus, I think, bond rating, which is up for us. So with these fiscal moves, we're positioning the town to be able to borrow more money.
Oh, yep. Is there anything else to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of money from free cash to capital stabilization account or take any action relative thereto. Yes, okay. 2 different stabilization accounts.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $124,000 from free cash to the capital stabilization account.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved to seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Article 36, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash to the Finance Committee Reserve Fund account or take any action relative thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $100,000 from free cash to the Finance Committee Reserve Fund account.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anything to be said? All those in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'd entertain a motion to dissolve this meeting. Okay, is there a second? You got a lot of them. All in favor signify by raising your hands. Opposed, same sign. Good night, everybody. Thanks for muscling it out. I appreciate it.